Hello, my name is David Tofano, Admissions Representative for the University of Fairfax. Welcome to the CISSP Exam Prep Clinic webinar. University of Fairfax is committed to working with you to help you enhance your skills in the field of cybersecurity. With having a 100% dedicated online cybersecurity curricula, the university offers graduate certificates, master's, and doctoral programs in the field of cybersecurity and information assurance. From faculty and staff, we thank you for attending our presentation of the CISSP Exam Prep webinar presented by Michael Pry, Director of Continuous Improvement and Enterprise Risk Management at Excela Health. After the webinar, please don't forget to check out our website, ufairfax.edu, to see what other resources we have available to strengthen your skills in the cybersecurity field. And now, please join me in welcoming today's presenter, Michael Pry.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening in on today's webinar. We're going to be covering the topic, Pursuing the CISSP. Many of you have probably signed up for this seminar so that you can understand what the CISSP is, who offers it, what's required to obtain it, what's required to keep it is something that needs to be discussed, and what are the skill domains measured on the exam that went into effect in 2015. So we're going to cover all of those basics, but as an additional value add, we're also going to discuss strategies for success and learning how to learn or to be a motivated learner as you go through the certification process, and how to market your success, which will help you to reap your payback for all of your effort put into the certification. So those are the things that we plan on discussing today. To start off, I wanted to talk about what is the CISSP. So this stands for the Certified Information System Security Professional Certification. The first word, certified, means that this provides credibility that you have demonstrated proficiency and knowledge mastery to a standard body of knowledge for the cybersecurity field, to include both the breadth of the 8 knowledge categories measured and the depth of the content that make each of them up. The certified component is very important because it helps folks trying to grow within the information security field or to advance in the field, gives you that credibility that your experience and knowledge has met a minimum standard. Next, we have information system security, the middle part of the certification. This is the process of layered controls to both prevent and detect, as well as respond to risk events that pertain to the threats to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data processing and communication systems. Finally, the word professional means that you'll be an expert in your field. This is one of the most globally recognized certifications in the information security market, and it is an industry-leading credential. It measures the deep technical as well as managerial knowledge and experience to effectively design, engineer, and manage the overall security posture of an organization. It's also one of the first credentials to meet the ISO standard 17024. According to the Washington Post, 56% of cyber jobs in the contracting industry will require the CISSP certification. That's a little bit about what it's about. There are 3 concentrations in addition to the main CISSP. You can get a concentration in architecture, in engineering, or in management. Often when I speak to folks regarding the certification, they ask who provides it. This is offered by an organization called ISC Squared. ISC stands for Inspire, Secure, and Certify. This is an international nonprofit membership association leading in education and certifying in cyber, information, software, and infrastructure security professionals throughout their careers. They're headquartered in the United States, but they also have offices in London, Hong Kong, and China. They're recognized for the acclaimed CISSP certification, along with a portfolio of other certifications and world-class education programs in the form of vendor-neutral education products and career services. The term vendor neutral is a very important one, what we'll cover here in just a moment. 35% higher salaries are reported for those who have ISC squared memberships compared to those who do not. So a little bit about vendor neutral and vendor sponsored certifications. Both bring tremendous value, but from a different perspective. A vendor-sponsored certification measures expertise specific to the use of a vendor product, such as the Microsoft operating system or a Cisco router or switch. These are great certifications if you're trying to get hired or promoted within an organization that uses those particular products. Now, a vendor-neutral certification doesn't support any specific product that's sold, but rather it measures knowledge domains that can be applied in any operating environment regardless of the vendor products. The CISSP is an example of vendor neutral, as is the CompTIA A+, Security Plus, and even the TestOut's Security Pro certification. These type of certifications are tremendous for showing an employer that you have a minimum level of understanding on commonly accepted domains of knowledge within the profession and meet the minimum standard accepted within the industry. If you go out to monster.com and just type in CISSP, you'll see it comes back with over 1,000 plus job listings. If you go to usajobs.gov, you'll see there are currently 116 listed positions. I always recommend to my students to take an opportunity and to examine what is required in the job postings that are listed in the field that you'd like to get into, and to look at a couple different postings and create an outline of what employers are generally looking for in the field that you want to move into, and then compare and contrast it to the things that you already have so that you can create a gap analysis and determine what you need to get in order to get to where you want to get to. And then that helps you build your development and your study plan. Moving on to the next slide, what is required to obtain the CISSP? Well, first of all, you need to have 5 years of cumulative paid full-time work experience in 2 of the 8 domains covered by the certification. And if you don't have enough experience yet, it's okay. The ISC2 organization does offer an associate certification that you can pursue as you're building up your years of experience, and I've provided a hyperlink on the slide to help you get to that. The 8 domains that you would have to pick 2 of include security and risk management, asset security, security engineering, communications and network security, identity and access management, security assessment and testing, security operations, and software development security. In addition to attesting to 5 years of experience in those 2 of those 8 domains, the registration for the exam is $599. You would take the exam at a Pearson VUE testing center that would be located close to you. And when you sit for the exam, you need to earn 700 out of 1,000 points, which would come from the 250 questions you'll be asked over a 6-hour period. Now, once you have passed the exam, you will also need to complete the endorsement process within 9 months of passing the test. You'll be required to sign a code of ethics and to complete and submit an endorsement, which is signed by an existing ISC squared certified person that can attest to your experience. And this must include their certification number. So you will need to find somebody who is already certified to attest to your experience. And this is a little easier than many think. I do find folks see this as a barrier initially when they're first trying to enter into the field or don't know anyone who's a CISSP. But I found that most cities throughout the United States will have a local ISC squared chapter that you can become a member of and attend meetings and get to network with folks that are already certified. And everyone that I've met has just been absolutely wonderful and willing to help. And after a period of getting to know them, they would be most folks I've met would be willing to help. So check out your local chapters if you don't know somebody who's a existing CISSP. Finally, once your packet has been received and your test scores are acceptable, you will receive an email notification from ISC Squared showing that you've completed the process and you will now be a member. So at this point, your journey actually begins, not ends. And this is where you go on the path to recertification. Recertification is a process that spans a period of 3 years. And over the 3-year period, you should pay your $85 a year annual membership fee to keep your membership going. And you should pursue the accumulation of 120 continuing professional education credits. Now, they do provide a lot of options on how you can build these credits up. And they call these CPEs. You can earn credits from domain-related activities in Group A, or in Group B, professional development and knowledge sharing. They'll count things such as attending education courses and seminars, going to conferences, attending a vendor presentation, completing higher academic courses, as well as reading and self-study, preparing for, delivering, and lecturing on presentations, or perhaps even publishing a security article or book. And the #1 most popular way of earning CPEs is by becoming a board member of your local chapter. Here they award 10 CPE credits per meeting. There's 4 meetings per year because they're quarterly, so that gives you 40 credits per year. So over a period of 3 years, that would give you your 120 credits by being a board member and participating on a quarterly basis. So a lot of different options available to you there based on your lifestyle and needs. You're able to fit in most of the requirements pretty easily. So that gives us a little background as to what the certification is, who it comes from, and what you'll need to have in order to maintain it. What we're going to cover next are the 8 domains. I'm going to cover each domain with a description of it, provide a couple bulleted examples of topics covered under that domain, and then I have 2 sample questions for each of the domains. So let's begin with the first domain, security and risk management. This has a weight of 16% of the overall exam. The topic here is security and risk management provides you with framework and policies, concepts, principles, structures, and standards used to establish criteria for the protection of information assets and to assess the effectiveness of that protection. It includes issues of governance, organizational behavior, and security awareness. So topics covered here include confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which are the 3 goals of any information security program. We have security governance principles, compliance, legal and regulatory issues, professional ethics, and finally, security policy, standards, procedures, and guidelines. So as you can see, this is a pretty broad domain, and often one of the domains that individuals will select to attest to their experience. One of the sample questions that you might find under this domain could read like this. The blank is the cost associated with a single risk against a single asset. So how would you answer that? You have annualized rate of occurrence, exposure effect, single loss expectancy, or annualized loss expectancy. The answer is single loss expectancy. It is the amount of loss you would experience if an asset were harmed. So as you can see from this question, there's some terminology that you would need to understand. It's pretty straightforward, but you'll need to understand the key terms so that you can differentiate those that make sense and might contribute to the answer you're looking for, and those that you can cancel out. As a test taker myself, when I review the answers, if Obviously, if I know 100%, then I pick the right answer. But if I don't, I begin to try to determine what is the best answer of the answers that are listed. So I'll pull out those that I know are absolutely wrong, and then I'll evaluate the remaining answers to try to determine which is the best of the ones available. Another question you could find in the security and risk management domain would read like this: which is not the feature of security policy? Talks about security solutions, defines the scope of security needed, hiring of a new manager, or defines the asset to protect. And the answer: defines the scope of security needed. So this sets the scope of security, defines the asset to protect, and the extent of security solutions to provide the required protection. So not too difficult of a question. Moving on to domain number 2, asset security, covering 10% of the exam. We're having a weighting of 10%. The asset security domain provides you with the concepts, principles, structures, and standards used to monitor and secure assets, and those controls used to enforce various levels of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Items in this domain include information and asset classification, ownership, protecting privacy, appropriate retention, data security controls, and handling requirements. So here's a sample. To maintain the greatest security, access should be assigned according to the principle of what? Job, money, horoscope reading, or least privilege? Well, here I'm sure most of you guessed least privilege, and that would be correct. The principle of least privilege states that in a secure environment, users should be granted the minimum amount of access necessary to do their job. So from a test-taking perspective, it was probably pretty easy to pull out those that didn't look right. Question number 2, rotating employees to various jobs is called what? The round-robin technique, the job rotation technique, separation of duties, or creating a lean workforce? Here our answer is job rotation, which helps to uncover inappropriate behavior. And in domain number 3, security engineering, weighing in at 12% of the test. The security engineering domain provides you with the concepts, principles, and structures and standards to design, implement, monitor, and secure operating systems, equipment, networks, and applications, and those controls used to enforce various levels of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. As you can see from the list that we're about to walk through, this is a pretty heavy domain and gets to a lot of the core elements that are reflected in the CISSP certification. We have engineering processes using secure design principles, secure model fundamental concepts, secure evaluation models, capabilities of information systems, security architecture, design, and solution element vulnerabilities, web-based vulnerabilities and mobile system vulnerabilities, embedded devices, and cyber physical system vulnerabilities. Cryptography. I have cryptography highlighted in red because everyone who I have spoken to who has taken the exam said that this was the domain that was the most difficult. Certainly understanding cryptographic principles can require a lot of reading and practice. With a little bit of effort, I think most folks can master this pretty well, but it was the recommendation of many of my guides to spend a lot of time understanding cryptography as the history of cryptography, the methods of cryptography that are used from symmetric to asymmetric cryptography, as well as digital certificates. So spend some time focused on that domain. And the other two are site and facility design secure principles and physical security, which tend to be a little bit easier than the cryptography section. Couple examples. To maintain the greatest security, access should be assigned according to the principle of what? Oh, we reviewed that one already, sorry. This one here is an interface used to connect multiplexers and routers to high-speed communication services, such as ATM and frame relay, is known as? The answer is high-speed serial interface, which is used to connect multiplexers and routers to high-speed communications. Topic number 4, communications and network security, weighing in at 12%. The communications and network security domain provides you with an understanding of network security related to structures, methods, formats, and measures of the transmission of information. Here we learn about secure network design, components, communication channels, and network attacks, which can be a fun thing to learn about. Sample question from this domain would be, LAN stands for what? Does it stand for less admins are needed, long area network, large area network, or local area network? Of course, most of you know it stands for local area network, which is a self-enclosed network spanning a floor, building, or campus. Next question, what other factors must be addressed apart from the operating system and software while establishing security on a network? Could it be badge ID, LAN, physical issues, or local area network and metropolitan area network? The answer is physical issues such as cabling, hardware, and topology should be addressed. So I think you're getting a good sense for the items that are covered in this area, as well as how the test questions tend to roll based on some of the things we reviewed. Let's go on to module number 5 of the 8, which is identity and access management, weighing in at 13%. The identity and access management domain provides the basis for the understanding of how access management works, why it is a key security principle and discipline, and how each individual component to be discussed relates to the overall access management universe. And the most fundamental concept here is access control. We cover physical and logical assets. We look at identification and authentication of people and devices, identity as a service. So that's an interesting concept, looking at cloud-based systems. Third-party identity services, access control attacks, and identity and access provisioning life cycles. So let's try out a sample question. Granting someone access is an example of what? Logical access control, technical access control, non-discretionary access control, or discretionary access control. This example, it is non-discretionary, granting someone or an object access, performing an action, or accessing a resource. Next question is, which of the following access controls is used in a rule-based system where a set of rules can be used on a system? Logical, technical, non-discretionary, or discretionary? The answer is non-discretionary. Access controls are used in a rule-based system as the rules and filters determine what can occur on the system. Almost done. Moving on to Module 6, Security Assessment and Testing. This domain provides you with the knowledge to assist in managing the risks involved in developing, producing, operating, and sustaining systems and capabilities. And there's a lot of focus on the sustainment part. A lot of organizations today do a very nice job with the planning and implementing, but then the sustaining becomes the challenge. Here we're going to cover assessment and testing strategies, which are a main support element of sustaining systems, security process data, security control testing, testing outputs, and security architecture vulnerabilities. So let's try one out. Blank is a software testing technique that provides invalid, unexpected, or random data to the inputs of a program. Is the term fuzzing, structured testing, ICAR, or agile testing? The example is fuzzing is the technique used. Blank are fact or opinion-based information used to verify an identity. Is it a one-time password, self-service password, an assisted password, or a cognitive password? The answer is cognitive passwords. These are things that you know, which you can answer a question to. Now, as I go through and I study a lot of the flashcards and sample questions after studying a module, I often enjoy reading the why behind the answers to understand the thinking that occurs behind them. And as you use the different apps and testing tools, I would highly recommend taking time to read the explanations for each of the right answers. Module 7, Security Operations, covers 16% of the exam, obviously a highly weighted area, and a lot of content is covered under this domain, which is focused on operation security. Operation security is concerned with protection and control of the information processing assets in both a centralized as well as distributed environment. And I think that's a nice reflection of modern day computing. Security operations is primarily concerned with the daily tasks required to keep security running. So investigations and support, logging and monitoring, provisioning, basic security operation concepts, resource protection techniques, incident management, preventive measures, patching and vulnerability management, a very important component of any good security program, change management structures, recovery strategies, disaster recovery processes, and their complementary business continuity planning processes, and more on physical and personal security. So that completes our review of the top 8 modules that make up the certification. The next slide I wanted to cover is the strategies for success. And what are some things that you should consider as you approach the certification process? First, I would recommend to understand what is your motivation for pursuing the certification. That it's a long journey to get certified, and it's also a lot of work to stay certified. So if you have the right motivation, it'll all be worth it. But if you're pursuing it for the wrong reasons, you'll get pretty frustrated. So what are some things that can help with your motivation? One, are you studying just for the sake of learning? That's always a beautiful thing to focus on, just to learn the material. Are you studying to establish credibility in the field? Certainly one of the benefits of pursuing the certification. Are you looking to obtain employment or to get a job promotion? Then here I would ask to investigate the organizations that you want to apply to or where you're going to get promoted to determine if the certification is needed. Also, from a consulting perspective, I know a lot of really smart guys and girls that work in the information security field, and they have branched out into their own private consulting firms. And often they've pursued the certification to give them credibility as a consultant. So that's another good reason to pursue it. Now, in the field of information security, you can find a lot of meaningful work, and this could provide a motivation for the certification. Applying hard to develop technical skills to enable technology and keep it working can always be a fun thing to do. Information security is also an exciting place to work where we have constant challenges and an evolving technological landscape. So do you like to be in a work area that's constantly dynamic and filled with lots of challenges? If you're the type of person that rises to a challenge, then this is the right place for you. It's also well-paying work. There's a high market demand for folks in the field of cybersecurity, and there's not enough people to fill that demand. This results in wage pressures and helps to increase the average salary in the field. It's also, in my opinion, a prestigious profession to work in. And as an example of that, I recently read an article that the U.S. Army is going to research creating a direct commissioning program for cyber. And this will be on par with the direct commissioning program they have for attorneys and doctors. So as you can see, the possibilities are endless and evolving, and even expanding into other fields, such as with medical device cybersecurity and securing the Internet of Things. All these opportunities exist because there's a variety of threats that exist today, to include intelligence collection by nation states that seek to gather information about government operations, to take intellectual property and trade secrets, to provide for state-run businesses and to provide them with a competitive advantage. Also to prepare the future field of battle within information systems, a battle that could be considered to be more devastating than in traditional combat. Outside of that, we also have organized crime syndicates that are financially motivated to commit cybercrime and find it to be a lucrative business. And then we always have the lone wolf actors who are operating in the dark web for a variety of motivations. But the threat sources are real, and they are driving the need for cybersecurity professionals. In order to succeed in your pursuit, you're going to want to identify resources that can help you along the path. The official textbook offered by ISC² is on version 4 and can be purchased from their website, along with study guides. I found a practice test at the following link at mhprofessionalresources.com. You can attend seminars, take college classes. You can download study apps and interactive flashcards from the app stores. And a common method of studying is to go out to YouTube and to watch a variety of videos. You can just do a search on CISSP. For a lot of the folks I've talked to, the Sean Harris videos are considered absolutely top-notch. So consider checking out those videos on YouTube. Also, there are social media support groups for folks pursuing the CISSP. Facebook has one, and I also found one at studynotesandtheory.com, where they had a very nice blog that was run by folks who had taken the exam and shared their techniques for how they pursued it and successfully passed it. Another thing that you'll want to consider is making your plan. Success can always come from very good planning. And when you're putting together your learning plan, you want to be sure that you understand what all is the work that you need to do, how much time it's going to take to do that work, and then to begin to figure out how that you're going to fit that into your busy life. First is to know yourself. How do you learn the best? Some people can do a really great job reading a book cover to cover and remember everything that they read. Others are visual learners, where they prefer to learn through videos or through human contact interaction. Others can learn online by taking an online course. So all depends on what your learning style and technique is. There are also group learners that prefer to go to seminars and be part of a class where they can not only hear a lecture from the instructor, but they can also then talk to their peers in the room. So after you've determined which way is best for you to learn, the next is to set aside some sacred study time every week. It's recommended to pick the same days and time so that you can get into the habit of always doing your study time. And when I say make it sacred, is to not allow things to bump it. We often have a lot of priorities in our life and things that are going on, and it's easy to say, I'll skip my study time today and do this other thing. But the moment you do that, you begin to fall behind on your goals. So make sure you keep your study time sacred. Also, do your studying when you're fresh. You should be well rested, alert, so that the retention of the materials that you're reviewing sticks with you better. It is easier to remember things after you had a good night's sleep rather than you're really tired and fatigued at the end of the day. Next is to manage your time. And when you're managing your time, you should look at how much time do you need to read, how much time do you need to watch the videos. Also, do you want to set time aside for reviewing flashcards and for taking the practice tests? Then you want to narrow down what you need to focus on based on your scores after you've taken the practice test. And then you want to plan time for your improvement. So in the little screenshot that I have below, I created a study plan for myself just using Microsoft Excel. And for example, I have the domain, security engineering. I have the pages that I wanted to read in the text, which is pages 36 to 54. That's a total of 18 pages. Now I know that it takes me about 3 minutes per page based on my level of reading comprehension, reading speed. So I took 3 minutes per page times 18 pages, and that means I have to set aside 54 minutes to get through those reading materials. So just round out to an hour. Now the Sean Harris video on this is about 45 minutes, and so I banked those minutes to the side. The practice test looks like it's going to take me about 30 minutes to do. So altogether, between reading the materials, watching the video, and getting the practice test completed, I'm looking at about 129 minutes. So then I planned the start and end date when I wanted to cover those materials. And then I gave myself a little checkbox to show, okay, I read what I had to read, I watched the video, and I did the flashcards. This is just psychologically a fun thing to do because it gives you that sense of progress. I can tell you, it feels great whenever you check off that little box to show, yep, I completed my reading, I completed my video. I call this the short win philosophy. When you're trying to eat an elephant, you can do it by eating it one bite at a time. And the CISSP pursuit can feel like you're eating an elephant. So by breaking the modules down and breaking your studying down to a smaller subset, you can get those successful feelings of progress as you get through. Now, once I've gone through all that, I take the practice test. And if I get 90% or better, I feel pretty comfortable that I'll nail it when I sit for the exam. So then I move on to the next area. If I got less than 90%, then I want to understand what do I need to study a little bit more. So then in the comments section of my spreadsheet, I put what I need to study a little bit heavier. And this kind of gap analysis allows for me to see from the practice tests what I know and what I feel comfortable in against the standard, and I can see what I don't know and what I need to study a little bit further. So now I'm narrowing the knowledge of all 8 domains, broad and deep, and I'm bringing it down to a very tight study plan that I'll have to focus on in order to pass the exam. And that would be those things that I need to know in order to bring my practice test score up to 90%. So the key takeaway from this is to have a plan and to stick to it. And on my final slide before we wrap up, just a couple of next steps for you to consider as you pursue certification. Again, ask yourself why you want to pursue the certification, and then to evaluate yourself against the certification requirements to see if you meet them or to see if you should take the associate path. Then you need to understand the time and cost commitment that's associated to this and to make sure that you're ready for it based on what you have going on in your life. Once you've gotten to that point, you know it's for you, then create your study plan. Set milestones on your study plan to evaluate your progress and schedule the test. Now, there are two philosophies around scheduling the test. One philosophy is book it. Say I'm going to take this on November 15th. This is February 23rd, and I'm going to make sure I'm ready. I got $600 that is down, it's non-refundable, and I'm going to make sure for the sake of that $600 that I'm ready. So folks who like to learn by having pressure squeezing them to learn, that's the right way to go. Others don't like to have that pressure. Others like to kind of weed it in based on when they can fit it into their life. In this case, you should not schedule the test till you feel like you're ready to sit for it, because you do have a $600 investment in order to take the test. So maybe after you've gone through all 8 domains and you're averaging around 90% on the practice exams, at that point you might want to go ahead and schedule it. There's no right or wrong way, it's just a matter of personal preference. Next, celebrate your success and update your resume and your LinkedIn profile if you have one. A lot of jobs today are being found through networks that you build on LinkedIn or other professional networking sites. So once you have your certification, remember to go back and update your credentials with your employer. You let your employer know that you got certified. Update your resume, update your postings online, update your business profiles so that you can then begin to network with folks who are also certified and make connections with those seeking certified individuals. Next, consider seeking a leadership role in your local ISC squared chapter. Great way to meet folks. Then develop your professional development plan for recertification. Don't let the 3rd year come up on you and you're not ready for certification, because you will have spent a lot of time just to see your certification lapse. Make sure each year you know what you're going to do in order to achieve recertification. So every year, attend a couple conferences or participate on the board or do some reading, whatever you need to do to get your CPEs done. And the last word of advice to you is to mentor others. I have found through my life that the best way to master a topic is to actually teach it to somebody else. And as you teach it to them, you grow more confident with it yourself, and you also learn about that topic from a different perspective or a different angle, typically of those who you're trying to teach it to. So consider taking somebody under your wing and helping them through the certification process. And know that there are people out there who might want to take you under their wing and to help to develop you. So good luck on your certification. I hope that you found this information to be useful, and thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.